Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. You're watching Sisters Corner with Uzma Khan, and we have a lovely guest, Davinia. Today, the topic we are discussing is fostering, and in fostering, we are going through like a lot of detail to share with you today. I would continue with the same question, and Davinia is going to tell us a bit more in detail prevention to become a foster carer. Yes, Davinia.
So we touched on some of the checks that we have to carry out on our prospective foster carers, the DBS check, which will check the police records. We also do a local authority check, and that will just indicate and give us any information if that applicant is known to social services for any reason. And then we do a health check, a medical. And the medical is completed by the applicant. As mentioned before, they have an appointment with their GP and go through medical questions with their GP. This is then sent to our agency medical advisor, and based on the information given by the applicant's GP, they will make a decision as to whether that applicant is actually fit to foster. But moving on from the health, one of the main preventions in becoming a foster carer or fostering in a household is smoking. If you want to foster a child under the age of 5, then you are not able to do so if you are a smoker. And this is because of the harm to passive smoking and the intimate care that you have to give a child under the age of 5. In the cases where we do have foster carers that smoke, they are not allowed to smoke inside the home. They have to keep the household smoke-free for any young person or child that is in that placement. So I think that is one thing that people have to really think about.
So is it the same? Obviously, when you see the parents, for example, a mom is not smoking, but the father is smoking. So does it count for both of them? Like they both have to be smoke-free?
Yes, if you're a couple who foster and one of the couple smokes, they will not be able to have children under the age of 5 reside in their household. Over the age of 5, the person who smokes still wouldn't be able to smoke within the household. They would have to smoke outside in order to keep the home smoke-free. And obviously, for reasons that we all understand, medical reasons, passive smoking, and the harms that it causes. So that's our rules on that.
And obviously, when you go for a medical check, you go through the physical ability and then the mental health as well.
Yes.
So what do you check in physical abilities for a foster carer, and what are the requirements for mental health?
So really and truly, we as an agency, thank God for that, don't make the decision as to whether someone is fit to foster medically. That's left to the medical professionals, and they advise us as to whether somebody is fit enough. But there are obvious things that may prevent somebody from being able to provide foster care. If somebody is really, really ill, has really extremely high blood pressure, can't be in stressful situations, then the medical advisor may say, based upon, the information that we've got, we don't think that they'll be fit to foster. They usually give us a good kind of comprehensive report as to why. Also, if somebody, for instance, is in receipt of support because of their medical condition, or receives support in terms of they are looked after by a carer, then they will not be deemed medically fit to be the main carer for a vulnerable young person or child, if you get what I mean. If you are registered as somebody who requires support for your health, then it's unlikely that you're going to be able to provide the support for a child because you as the applicant require it.
I just want to be clear on one point. if a mother is registered as a disabled and has a physical disability, but she has her own children and she is looking after them very well, so would you count that to give another child as a foster child, or still she won't be able to have it?
So no, a physical disability is, unless it is actually a disability that prevents you from meeting the expectations of the role as a foster carer, then having a physical disability isn't something that we would discriminate against. We would look at the type of child or children that they wanted to foster and whether that was something that was feasible. And if so, if they've raised their own children, we would look at the approach and the techniques that they used in their parenting to raise their children, and we would, assess them, having that in mind. So it's not just a straight because they've got this physical need or because they've got this mental health need. It's really about how they manage it and what the impact of that disability would have on their role as a foster carer. That's what we would look at. So if it was something that prevented you from meeting the needs of a child, then that would be something that we would deem not appropriate.
And if a person has come out of a mental illness and had in the past, but not diagnosed in the present, or doesn't exist that thing, would you count that as a foster carer as a strength in the foster carer, or would you consider that mental health issue from the past as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think that every case is different. And as I said before, we, in terms of medically, we do not determine whether a person is medically fit to foster. That's the doctors and medical advisors. However, we look at how that person managed their mental health issue, whether they took the advices of the GP, whether they adhered to medication that they were given to, and how it's affected their life moving forward. So we wouldn't just say you've had mental health issues or you may have suffered from depression 15 years ago, so now no. What we would look at is how did you manage that? What support did you
come
have?
over?
What support did you have? What were the triggers for you to be in that kind of position, so it's not an open and closed book, and it's not black and white. We have to look at every single case individually and just look at whether that is a strength, something they can pull on. And we've got many young people that suffer from mental health issues or things like depression, and somebody who's had that experience and gone through it and come out the other side may actually be a good advocate for a young person.
Because he knows the strategies to come over on mental stress, and he knows how to cope the situation, rather than a person who is going into it and don't know the ways to cover it.
Exactly.
Am I
right? Yeah.
And how about, like, obviously you go through the GP medical assessment for the parent who is going to obviously a foster carer. So it would be only the GP medical assessment, or you would have your own as well?
Based upon what we are told, then that has to be incorporated in the Form F assessment that goes to panel. So it's not just one person making a decision. It is it's incorporated in the report. The findings of the medical, and based upon the information given and the account that's given by the applicant, the panel will recommend whether they feel that, taking everything into consideration, they are somebody that recommend to become a foster carer.
How about when you get the information from the local authority, and if a single parent has been through a lot, like through domestic violence or parenting issue that time, but it's all like done, it's all clear, can they be a foster carer, or?
Again, it really does depend on the circumstance. When we do local authority checks, if the applicant has been known to social services and it's for neglect or harm of their child, or if they're in any kind of proceedings themselves with their children, then it's something that we would say it's not the right time for you to become a foster carer. Our main focus is meeting the needs of all children, and that includes birth children too. So if we feel that there is something going on within the applicant's household that we feel they need to focus on, that we have on numerous occasions said to our prospective foster carers, look, we're going to have to terminate the assessment because of the information that's come through, and what we advise is that you focus on your family, you know, because just because they're foster children doesn't mean that we care about them any more than your birth children. It's about all of them. So it really does depend. If you have had historical dealings with the local authority in terms of child protection or child in need, requiring support from the local authority, then again we have to look at the context, what it was, what happened, how that applicant responded to the local authorities. Did they work with the local authorities? Did they prevent barriers for the local authorities? So, you know, a lot of the time we work closely with local authorities. Everything is recorded, so we actually can request access to local authority files so that we can see for ourselves what happened and the involvement, and make a judgment call as to whether we can proceed with the assessment.
Okay, so what are other preventions to become a foster carer?
So one of the other preventions are, I mean, alongside parenting, as we've just touched upon, if you have had issues with your children, behaviour, and, you know, we have had situations where children are not happy that their parents are fostering, you know, and that's one of the things that we do during the assessment is speak with the children. They are part of the assessment, whether they live in the household or not, because fostering will make an impact on any family.
Exactly.
So we really do have to take the child's feelings into consideration. Sometimes they will be, yay, I want mum and dad to foster, or mum to foster, and I have another young person in here. And there may be times where they're like, no, I really don't want to share my home. I don't want to share my parents. And with that, we have to take their feelings into consideration as well. So birth children and parenting is another thing that could prevent.
How about if you put a child in the place of the foster carer, and later on their own children are not settling in with their child, or their child is not settling in with those children? So do you give any training, or do you help them emotionally or mentally, or how do you sort out the situation?
We have done in the past worked with birth children who have kind of struggled with having other children alongside, and sometimes it can be as something as simple as, you know, when their parents first started fostering, they only fostered teenagers that were a lot older than them, so really they didn't really feel in competition with any foster child that was coming into the home. And now that placement's ended, and now they've got a new child coming in, but that child is same gender, same age, and you know, that birth child may feel like now they're competing for their parents' attention, whereas when the older child was in placement, they didn't feel, you know, they had so much in common. So some children and young people actually want children placed that are their age, that they can relate to. Others don't. You know, they would want a child that's significantly younger than them, or significantly older than them. But in situations where we have had a birth child feeling a bit pushed to the side, we work with the foster carer to bring more of a balance into the placement and into the household. And we work with the birth child as well, where appropriate, to kind of make them feel good about sharing their home, make them feel good about sharing their parents, and just highlight the positive impact that they can actually have on another young person's life, sharing their home, sharing sometimes their toys and their space, what a good thing it is that they're doing, you know. So it really does depend on how. I have had in the past families that after having their first placement and seeing how their children have responded and reacted, said, actually, we don't think that we're ready to foster. You know?
Yeah, it's better to have actually for short term and then go for a long term, because rather than putting yourself in trouble or the children facing like different sort of things, different sort of issues, and then going back making trouble or a problem for the child who you're fostering and for your own children, for your whole family, and then, you know, coming back to the same point. One really important question is coming up in my, in this discussion. I was thinking of, for example, our child is going to uni now, is ready to go to uni, and he has to go to study in a different city. And parents are willing to go or move to the other city. So would it be okay, or would you let go the child who they are fostering with them to the next place, or no, they have to return the child? How do you deal with that?
It really depends on how long the child's been in placement, the stability of the placement, the stage that that child or young person's at in their education, and whether the local authority agree with the move. We've definitely worked with carers that have moved out of London, and you know, the foster children have moved with them, but that is because that's what the children wanted. The local authority did all their checks and assessments, and they deemed it a suitable move for them as well. You look at, you know, what are you interrupting? Their school, if their school's stable, then the local authority may say, well, no. But they have to balance out whether it's staying in that stable school or remaining in a stable placement. And it can be, right, we've got to look at the timing. This child is transitioning from primary school to secondary school, so it's not such a bad thing. You can look for secondary. Do you get what I mean? It really does depend on the circumstance of that placement, if it's a long-term placement.
Davinia, I really appreciate, actually, we are discussing a lot of things today, and as we have discussed today, preventions to become a foster carer, and we have discussed obviously health check, DBS, local authority, mental and physical disabilities, or the siblings in the household, or smoking, and all those issues. Obviously, you know, about smoking, when we discussed, it's not only a compulsory for the foster carer, if it's mom or dad, mother or a father, they both have to be smoke-free, or if they are used to, then they have to smoke outside the household, not in front of the child under the age of 5. Other than that, can we go a bit more in detail, Davinia? What are the other prevention factors? What could we can say as a foster carer to become a foster carer?
I'd say work commitments is another kind of thing that you really have to consider. You know, the majority of children will come from a household who, you know, the parents go out to work, and, you know, so this isn't something that we turn our nose up at or think, no, we want somebody that's going to be in the house all day, every day. However, if you're in a job that requires you to work long hours, maybe travel, work on weekends, or, you know, just not meet the needs of the child, then that's something that could be a prevention. Like I said, we encourage foster carers also to work as well. However, fostering has to be the main priority. There are a lot of fostering friendly employers that totally understand the role, and they are quite flexible in terms of knowing that if you've got to attend a meeting or a school visit or something like that, then you can flexibly make up that time.
Obviously, that's a really good point, and they have to take out the time, like their own children, because we have to go for our parents' evening.
Yep.
have to make appointments for the medical checks, mental health check, and all other appointments. The physical health is important as well, and all the appointments with the social workers, with the local authority, or the authorities we are dealing with for that child. Very, very good information, Davinia. I would really appreciate all the efforts you have made today for us to be aware of the fostering process, procedures, strategies, the ways how to deal, and a lot. And we will carry on in the next program as well. But for now, the program time is finished. Thank you very much for coming in today's program. And all the audience, thank you so much for watching program Sisters Corner, and I will come back with another episode. Till that, Allah Hafiz.